Just 48 years after the death of the Prophet Muhammad, his grandson Hussein was killed in the Battle of Karbala. Why did this battle happen, and why is it so important to Islamic history? After the fourth Caliph Ali was assassinated in 661, a power vacuum emerged, leading to Muawiyah assuming role as Caliph, despite opposition from part of the Ummah who wanted Hassan, son of Ali, who was the grandson of the Prophet, as the Caliph. To avoid further bloodshed after years of conflict, Hassan signed a peace treaty with Muawiyah. This treaty stipulated that Muawiyah would not appoint a successor after him. In the year 670, Hassan was assassinated, leaving his brother Hussein to take on his duties. The treaty was breached when Muawiyah named his son Yazid his successor in 680, beginning the Umayyad dynasty. Yazid spread his power through corruption, bribery, and the use of violence. To legitimize his rule, Yazid demanded allegiance from Hussein. Hussein refused, as Yazid was openly corrupt and known to be brutal. Hussein was forced to flee Medina under threat of imprisonment and assassination. He had received thousands of letters from Kufa, Iraq, pledging support for an uprising against Yazid. Of his refusal to pay allegiance, he said, "I am ready to fight for the sole goal of seeking the reform of the Ummah of my grandfather, the Prophet of Allah. I want to enjoin good and forbid evil." Hussein first went to Mecca for Hajj, but then left to avoid violence and preserve the sanctity of the holy city. Hussein departed with his family and companions to Kufa. In response to the threat of rebellion from the Kufans, Yazid dispatched the governor to Kufa to quash dissent. This led to thousands of Kufans withdrawing their support under threat of violence. As they approached Kufa, Hussein's caravan was intercepted by a battalion of Yazid's army led by a man named Hur al-Riyahi. A greater army which numbered in the thousands, led by Umar bin Sa'ad, joined him and surrounded Hussein's camp in what is now known as Karbala in modern-day Iraq. The army cut off access to water for Hussein and his family, leaving the men, women and children to suffer from days of thirst in Iraq's blistering desert heat. The army demanded allegiance from Hussein, threatening him with death. Despite all the odds, Hussein refused to back down. On the night before the battle, Hussein told his companions that they were free to leave, but they pledged to stand beside him in the face of certain defeat. The following morning, on the 10th of Muharram, known as the day of Ashura, Hussein delivered a powerful speech, reminding the opposition that he was still the grandson of the Prophet and that he still wished to leave. Moved by Hussein's speech, Hur abandoned Ibn Sa'ad's army and joined Hussein's. The battle commenced, with Hussein's 70-odd companions facing off against an army of what many historians number to be 30,000. The companions of Hussein fought group by group and were martyred on the battlefield. Eventually, Hussein was left with a handful of remaining family members. They too were killed. Hussein, now with no one beside him, pleaded with the enemy forces for water for his 6-month-old baby. The enemy responded by firing a fatal arrow at the infant, killing Hussein's child in his arms. Hussein buried the child and bid farewell to the women and children of his camp. He fiercely charged into the battlefield, where, after fighting valiantly, eventually fell from his horse and was surrounded by the enemy soldiers. The grandson of the Prophet was brutally attacked from all sides and beheaded. The enemy forces attacked and plundered the possession of the dead bodies as well as the camp of Hussein's family. The tents were set ablaze with the women inside, which included granddaughters of the Holy Prophet. The family were taken captive by Yazid's army, later to be paraded to Damascus in Syria. The story of Karbala shook the Muslim Ummah as news spread, launching several uprisings across the Muslim Empire. Many argue that the Battle of Karbala forever changed the course of Islamic history. The day of Ashura is mourned globally by millions of Muslims, both Sunni and Shia, to honor the heroic stand of the Prophet's grandson, Hussein. On the 10th of Muharram in the year 61 after Hijrah, the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad, Hussein ibn Ali, was brutally martyred in what is known as the Battle of Karbala. But what happened to the remaining women and children of his family, and what events took place after the Battle of Karbala? After the Battle of Karbala, Yazid's army, led by Umar bin Sa'd, plundered and dismembered the bodies and raised the head of Hussein and his companions onto spears. The tents in which the women and children were residing in were looted and set ablaze. Among the remaining family members were Zainab and Kulthum, the granddaughters of the Holy Prophet, and Ali Zain al-Abidin, the last remaining son of Hussein. Ali Zain al-Abidin was severely ill during the Battle of Karbala, and though he wished to fight alongside his father, was unable to do so. The family members, including young toddlers, were shackled in chains and paraded in the nearby city of Kufa, where they were presented to Yazid's governor Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad in his courtyard. Ali Zain al-Abidin delivered a defiant speech in the face of Ibn Ziyad and reminded the people of Kufa that they had pledged allegiance to Hussein. Ibn Ziyad turned towards Zainab and asked her what she thought about what God had done to her family, to which she famously responded, "I saw nothing but beauty. These are people on whom martyrdom is written. They went where God wanted them to go. God will gather you and them on the day of judgment. Then you will see what God does to you on the day of judgment." Shortly afterward, the family members of Hussein were marched on a perilous journey from Kufa to Damascus. It is said that several of the younger children on this journey died on the route from the harsh conditions and ill treatment of Yazid's army. The family were paraded in several towns along the route and were often humiliated and assaulted by bystanders. The exact dates on how long this journey lasted are unclear, but many historians believe it was around 2 months after Muharram in which the family of Hussein finally arrived in Damascus. Yazid had ordered for the city to be decorated and jubilant crowds had gathered to celebrate the capture of the prisoners. Years of propaganda by Bani Umayyah against Ali ibn Abu Talib and his sons had created an environment of hatred against the Prophet's family. While the family of Hussein were paraded in the market of Damascus, some historians note that bystanders attacked them with rubbish, stones, and even hot water. The family were eventually gathered in the Umayyad mosque in front of Yazid. To further humiliate and antagonize the family, Yazid used a stick to poke the dismembered head of Hussein. Undeterred, Ali Zain al-Abidin delivered a powerful sermon in the courtyard of Yazid to tell the people who he was in relation to the Holy Prophet, saying, "O people, I am the son of Mecca and Mina. I am the son of Zemzem and Safa. I am the son of the man who rode the Barak to the end of the horizon and reached his Lord. I am the son of the one who prayed with the angels. I am the son of the one who received the revelation. I am the son of Fatima al-Zahra, the leader of women, and the great Khadija. I am the son of the one who was killed and covered with blood. I am the son of the one who was killed in Karbala." Upon hearing this speech, the people of the courtyard were moved. Yazid ordered his soldiers to place the family members of Hussein in his prisons. It is unclear for how long the family of Hussein were kept as prisoners, with some historians suggesting it could have been a matter of weeks, and others suggesting it could have been months. After their release, the family of Hussein travelled back to their hometown of Medina. Many people believe that the family of Hussein returned to Karbala on their way back to bid a proper farewell to the martyrs, though this is contested. Either way, Yazid's ambition to boost his credibility by killing Hussein had ultimately backfired. Word spread of his atrocities against the Prophet's family, sparking several uprisings against his rule, most notably by Abdullah ibn Zubair in Mecca and Mukhtar al-Thaqafi in Kufa. Mukhtar is also famed for avenging the killing of Hussein. Every year, people from around the world mark 40 days from the day of Ashura, known as Arba'in. Millions of people participate in a walk to the holy city of Karbala to pay homage to the stand of Hussein.